So today we are at Gamescom here, and I'm talking to Hogne Titlestad from FriendUP, and he is doing FriendOS, right? And right next to him is sitting David Pleasance.
That's correct.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello. So, tell us a bit about what FriendOS is, because we heard a lot about it from the Amiga side. I mean, from the Amiga scene there has been a lot of information, but what it is exactly, because that's what a lot of people are asking actually.
Well, to most users, it would be basically an interactive cloud platform. So basically, it is an interactive cloud platform that's focused on the user and not on the developers. It is for developers, but we have the user in mind. So that means we have a special focus on user interface, on giving you graphical tools. And the goals for it is that it's the place where you can do all your stuff online. You can have your files there, you can have your apps there, you can have your administration suites if you have websites or whatever. You can play multiplayer games there, you can do business there. I mean, you can take your entire kind of digital activity into that space and order it and sort it and collect it in one place. That's the idea.
So it's like a computer in a virtual cloud?
Yes.
Exactly, you just got that exactly right. It is a computer in a cloud.
Good. And how it is connected with the Amiga scene? I mean, why are you so much making promotion in the Amiga scene exactly? Because I have read posts in the Facebook group of Amiga, people asking, what have we to do with you, with your FriendOS?
So for me, it's pretty simple. And obviously, as my background is basically from Amiga until 2001, my primary computer was a Amiga 4000 060. Basically for me, it's because what I started interacting with on a big box Amiga was the OS. My vision of the Amiga after 1996 was for professional work, doing my homework, doing all my stuff. And so I got to really love the OS. So it's from the OS side that FriendOS comes from. And actually, we don't like to call it the FriendOS. We like to call it the FriendUP because it is so much more than an OS. We go wrong.
FriendUP stands for Unifying Platform.
Yeah.
Unifying Platform, that's where the whole thing stems from.
Because we're actually using many operating systems and connecting them together.
Oh,
so that you can
okay.
use them by proxy with our workspace.
Okay, so as you said, I got it exactly right. It's a computer in the cloud, but it's not just one OS. It's a collection of many.
It stacks them. You could call it the front of the onion, right?
Okay.
So you have today you have so many devices. You have your phone, you have tablets, you have perhaps a Dropbox somewhere, you have perhaps a web server, FTP
Television.
server, you know, all these stuff. So what we're wanting to do is to have a place where you would play games, so you wouldn't look at it as some kind of administration center. It would be a fun place, just like a normal desktop is, but it would do everything for all these other systems. It would like pull them and upgrade them, so to speak, into one screen, and that's what we've done.
So that means I can like go to my friend's app or and say, today I want to start up my Amiga and play some Amiga games. So I would start up Amiga OS.
That's actually something that and we can't really talk much about the progress we're making in that area.
Okay.
But and obviously for our investors wouldn't like if we would use all the time on that. But since I'm breathing this technology 24/7, we have some exciting things that would probably be starting to appear next year on that scene. Also for the ROS guys, which I'm still talking to on a weekly basis.
So let me explain something to you.
Okay,
This
sure.
is a It is a platform agnostic system, and what that means is that Hogne has designed this product to be able to run. It can run Windows, it can run Mac, it can run Linux. All of these things can run in the workspace because it is agnostic. It is designed to not be specific to one or the other. And the advantage of that is that this is the first time that you're bringing the technology that allows you to work on a Windows program and a Mac program or a Linux program and work together and make them communicate with each other all in the same workspace.
So I don't have actually operating system in the background visibly for me as a user?
Yes, you do actually, because that's the thing, is that we've made operating system-like technology. That's why we don't call it an operating system, because it's a new thing, right?
Okay.
But it works like an operating system for the developer, and it works like a desktop for the user. And it's in front of all the other systems you have in the back connected up, right?
As you said, stacked.
Yes, it's stacked, and it's like photoshopped flattened layers. You know, you have these many layers, and then you flatten them, and the picture you end up with is Friend. And through this, you can use all these other systems. So that means that you can turn off all the screens on these devices and still use them. And this is the idea. And then furthermore, that means that you can keep using them without changing them, so to speak. And then you can move all the stuff into the workspace. So you can have that with you wherever you go. As long as you have an internet connection, you can hook up. And we're doing some amazing work in this space. I don't know if you're familiar with everything that's happening on the net with ZeroNet, and you have now this SafeNet that's coming out now, and there's all these, interplanetary file system, IPFS. So people are making a lot of peer-to-peer technologies these days. So actually, I don't know if you ever served anything yourself out of your house, but then you have to go into your internet router and you have to set up custom stuff. So what's happening now is that all that is going away, and everybody's going to be able to serve anybody else. It's a peer-to-peer internet that's rising up, and we built Friend to be on the forefront of that, so that it will always make use of how the internet is evolving, so that you can hook up everything in your life that's connectable and use it in one workspace where it all makes sense and it's not complicated. It's just icons, it's windows, it's apps that pop up, right?
Oh.
And that's the idea. And then you have the same type of file dialogues between systems. We're working on upgrading the Windows file dialogues that show up on our workspace to pop out as Friend file dialogues. So in time you won't recognize that you're using a Windows app or a Linux app or whatever. You're just going to see, I have this workspace where I work and I play and I do stuff, and I don't have to care what it's called. It just does the job for me. And when I go back to one of my older systems, nothing works anymore because I'm now used to everything working.
Great, all in one space.
Yeah.
Okay. And how you actually got the idea for that new technology, because that's something not seen yet before.
Well, the Amiga OS was going that direction at one point. And
Okay.
Yeah, and then everybody knows about Amiga Anywhere. You know, the concept that made people believe in a new vision, right? And then it never happened. And it was tying together with Intent, from Tau and the Tau group, and it never really happened. But, as many other people, I was sitting and reading all the articles and like, oh wow, this is going to be so great. So that fired something up. So that plus Amiga OS with RX and all the fantastic things you could do with file systems and how easy it was to just delete the folder and get rid of an application and so on, was how it started. And then obviously I've had a career in working with web-based systems and servers outside of my operating system open source hobbies and so on. So I tied it all together, and it suddenly made sense that now's the right time to do it, because the web technologies are so powerful now. They're even connecting to your Bluetooth devices now.
Wow.
And the 3D stuff that happens there, there's absolutely nothing you can't do on web today that you only can do on a native operating system. The only thing is minor things like speed considerations depending on your hardware. And so the time is right to do it. And the network technology is there to do it. And I see that even on Amiga OS they have remote desktop software which you can tie into, and there are so many other things you can do without remote desktoping things. So time is right. Everything came from the groundwork that was laid by David and the guys that worked in that company, and what came after. And this is kind of a compendium of all those great ideas with something on top.
Yeah, I must stress this too. Hogne and the team have been working on this for 2.5 years. It's not something that's happened overnight. They've been working on it a very, very long time. And I think the reason why Colin Proudfoot and I, obviously we were very pleased that we were asked to get involved, but the reason why we decided to get involved is that we definitely see this is the spirit of the Amiga reincarnated for the 21st century, bringing it into today's technology and beyond. And it's something that we know. We were part of history with the Amiga when Colin and I worked for Commodore. But this is part of history in the making. And when we were invited to get involved, we were absolutely thrilled to bits, because I never imagined in my lifetime again that I would be involved in something which is so groundbreaking. And this is history in the making.
I remember when we two had an interview first, you said that you got a lot of requests after Commodore went bankrupt if you couldn't help with their project and be a part of that, and you were very skeptical if that had any future. But you said his idea was the first one where he jumped on it and said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, without any question at all. And the funny thing is I make it very well known to everybody or anybody who's ever followed my career. I am not a technical person. I'm quite a dumbie, really. But when Hogne was telling me about this project, I got it like in a heartbeat, and I don't understand why, because I shouldn't have. It's much more complicated than anything I'd sort of thought of before. But I got it, and I could see. I mean, the first thing I said to Hogne that made any sense, I said, I see this as being the replacement. It is the business version of Facebook. Because once you're in this system, once you're working in this workspace, you now have to get out of it. You don't have to close anything down. You want to access email, you want to access anything at all. It's all there. It's all there in front of you.
That's actually a very good analogy. And some people might say it's the kind of Facebook version of Windows, to turn it around. Because what happens these days is that people are in, some cultures or subcultures on the net are using the Google platform, but not many compared to the Facebook platform. And so people are sitting there, they're talking, they're sharing documents. That's where they're doing a lot of their business these days. That doesn't pass on email anymore. And just wait a second, I'll have to get a document, and then they have to switch away the screen. They have to go away, so if somebody's talking to them, they need to have a notification sound to see that there's activity. So they're getting out of the screen and into something else. That's single tasking. So what we're doing giving you the same possibilities, but in a multitasking environment. We're bringing back multitasking to the web, how it should be. We're bringing back window management to the web. So it now becomes a complete workspace where you can have all the apps up at the same time and have precision in your work and get stuff done. And that's the idea.
Yeah, there is another thing too, which we have our own video conferencing system, which is currently called FriendChat. We might end up calling it just Friend because it's friend to friend. But the difference that we have is that with the system that Hogne and the team have developed, we can actually import into your video chat files, any files, Windows or Mac or whatever files you want, and you can work on them, and you can work on them in a shared way with other people, all at the same time. You can import games, and people can play the games together, all at the same time, and that's pretty magnificent when you see that in operation.
And
expand on that a bit.
yeah. And I don't have to take care about whether it's coming from Mac or PC because it's all the same platform in a way.
Yes. So what we're doing is that, and we're doing. It started actually out as part of our plan in 2014, but it materialized in this chat program in the live sessions. So you have a grid. Let's say you have 3 people talking to each other. So you have then 2 people on the sides on top left, and then you have 1 person on the bottom left, and then you have an empty square because there's only 3 people. And so you drag, an application and drop it on top of the live session, and then it starts running in the 4th square. And everybody can see it, and then they can work on it together. Any friend application can do this, and so for the application it will see keyboard 1, keyboard 2, keyboard 3, and all the input events will be sent to everybody in the session, and all the variables that will be stored in the application, the state of it, will be shared between the participants. So this is a very interesting way of introducing multi-user functionality into any application without actually having to program a server for it. So for the developers out there, this is what it means to have back-endless development, is that you don't have to code the server stuff, but you get it for free.
Wow. Okay.
It's pretty exciting, isn't it?
Yes. And now I asked that question to David once. Now the problem is, or the thing is, it's cloud-based, so it's on the internet. And as we all know, there's also continents like Africa's where there's prepaid 3G mobile connection.
Yeah.
And such regions would probably be concerned about the traffic that is used, because it would end pleading out their cash they have on the card, their credits.
Yes.
So what do you do there that it would even run without spending a fortune if you don't have a broadband internet connection at home that is a flat rate?
We thought about this from the start. The thing to, first of all, if you are supposed to work in a cloud in, let's say, rural Africa or something like that, and it's very expensive with bandwidth, you have to understand that Friend, even though it to many people appears as a type of Citrix system, it doesn't actually, it doesn't kind of stream all the content back and forth all the time like a movie, right? Like you do with Citrix. Instead, it just transfers files. So actually, the Friend applications, I'm not talking about the Windows applications in this scenario, but the Friend applications, they load into the browser and then they're loaded. So they don't do any more disk swapping, so to speak, until they load new data. That's the one thing to remember. But this will not solve it for anybody, and some people might not even have internet connection. They might have Wi-Fi, but they have no internet. So what we did was we ported the entire platform to Raspberry Pi. It runs on Raspberry Pi 2, it runs on Raspberry Pi 3. Probably we could get it on even more, but limited resources and so on. So what you do, you put a Raspberry Pi in your house and you have your own server, your small micro server there on the premise. And everybody can connect to that to get a local cloud. And then we have something of a synchronization technology. So what they can do, the administrator of this box, this little micro server, is that they can hook that one up to the cloud, and it can synchronize, just like we did with the old bulletin board systems in the old days, you know?
Yes.
And so they can store what they need on CDs, or today it would be SD cards, and then they can load that offline, and then they can hook up to it once they have the cache to get the new content, and then share it that way. So it's a way of getting off the net and still be able to do networked computing in the village or wherever.
Ah, okay. So you really saw it in a global mind.
Oh yes, definitely, from the start, because this is open source. Actually, part of our business plan for entering the consumer market next year is that Friend has to be totally free for the user.
But you have to earn some money in any way.
But this is a fantastic thing about modern technology, is that it allows you to monetize in completely new ways, and everybody's familiar about with this now.
Like ads or something?
Many people use ads. We haven't planned to use ads for this, actually. Probably other vendors using our platform will probably try that out, and we actually leave it up to them to set up their own infrastructure through our system. But Friend will be like a new type of network, and we have a store we call the Friend Store. That's where we believe our biggest cash will come from, because people will sell services, they will sell server solutions, applications, even personal services, because actually people will be able to sell their chat sessions in the store as well. And there's going to be, I mean, this is the Airbnb of desktop computing. Really, that's what we're aiming to do.
Great.
Can you see now why I'm excited about being involved with this?
Of course. I mean, it's like a mixture of many systems. You don't need 1,000 applications, computers, operating systems. You have all at one place. And even if you don't have stable internet, like in Africa, where you have mobile internet, you even can get a Raspberry Pi and say, okay, this is my local server, and Raspberry Pi is like 20 euros kind of, and as said, FriendUP would be free, so people could get it for little cash. You don't have to be rich to join the system.
Yeah.
And in fact, we are working deliberately to try to bring more technology to the poorer nations. And you mentioned about the foundation.
Well, the thing is that we're working now with a investor we have that's now located in Spain, and he's working with the Raspberry Pi strategy. And next year we're going to release something called Friend Linux Foundation, which is basically a new Linux distribution that basically you can install Friend on your own laptop. It will boot up into Friend. And many people, they don't understand that the web browser is actually several components mixed into one. So you have the graphical part, which shows you the websites and runs the JavaScript and the stuff that makes things move around on websites. And then you have the user interface, which is the buttons and the bookmarks and all that stuff. And then you have the operating system component that lets it run from system to system. So what we're doing, we're taking only the graphical part that runs JavaScript out of the browser and then smacking it on top of one of the lower level components of Linux so that you boot right into it. And then that browser becomes the wallpaper of the system, and it spawns the Linux system to work merged with Friend, so you can actually run then Linux applications side by side with web applications and cloud applications running through streaming from the internet.
It sounds a little bit like the concept of Chromebooks, where you don't have local applications, but it all runs web-based on a browser, kind of.
It is actually very much like Chrome OS from a completely different perspective and philosophy. Chrome OS shows it can be done, but we're much more open-minded as an ecosystem, so to speak, than Chrome OS, and we're much more like the Apache web server than we are than the Chrome operating system, so to speak.
I mean, let's be honest about it. The companies like Google and Amazon and Windows,
Microsoft,
they are building walled gardens. They've got their own silos, and once you're in them, they want you to stay in them. So they're kind of restricting you. What we've developed is completely cross-platform. That's why it's agnostic. You can go from one to another without any restrictions whatsoever, and that's the difference. So it doesn't matter what your preferences are. You can run anything you want on Friend Unifying Platform. That's the whole idea of it. And there's also part of the project with Africa is TV streaming, isn't it?
Oh yes, so we're working with people in Tanzania, and actually there's a lot of European universities that are going in there to help them build a competency level that allows them to compete on the international market.
Wow.
And they're running off of Raspberry Pis and all kinds of things like that. And so that's an opportunity that we're definitely exploring and actively seeking out together with Finnish professors and our Spanish how do you call it? Based investor.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've been concentrating on is academia. So we are having conversations with Plymouth University, who are looking to introduce Friend, a unifying platform, into their curriculum, because this is liquid software. This is what people have been talking about for nearly 20 years, and nobody's delivered. We're delivering liquid software in the real terms. So we're talking to academia. We've got recently got an introduction into Cambridge University. We've also got an introduction into Stanford in the USA, into Queen's in Canada, and to Duke University.
Even Bremen.
In
Germany.
Yeah, and this is something that I've been concentrating on and that's something we were doing yesterday. In fact, we were talking to a lot of people yesterday in academia schools that are teaching young people about technology and about they're here under the guise of making games, but we all know, and the Amiga was a fantastic example of that. People who played games, when they get older, they go into the real world, they get a job in the commerce, and they probably work in some high position in IT. They've got a big, obviously a big fondness and loving memories of Amiga and still use it, but it introduced them into something bigger than that. So what we're saying is, introduce FriendUP into your Friend Unifying platform into your curriculum, because when they leave their education, they're going to know that because this has commercial validity. We can use it for games, but that's only one very small part of it. This is for anybody in any commercial situation. You can use Friend Unifying platform in a meaningful way to bring them. I mean, we're talking about a major company in America, right? I can't tell you the name.
Yeah, of course. No.
But trust me, it's a major company. They have got 3 incredibly fantastic products, individual products, but they don't talk to each other. Those programs they can't communicate with each other. The Friend Unifying platform will allow them to do that. And so that's why we're talking about it. That's why they're really interested in us.
Wow.
Now that's just one example. There are many others.